Our Azurite C predictions, let's get into it. So with Lorcana's newest set, Azurite C, just on the horizon, it is that time again to get into our enchanted rare predictions. Now I'm going to get into mine in just a second here, but before we do that, we will be doing a giveaway. I will be giving away this Madrigal playmat to one of you. All you have to do is, of course, like this video, be subscribed to the channel, and join the Discord. Link is in the description, and let me know in the Discord in the Azurite C Enchanted Rare predictions what your predictions are for Azurite C Enchanted Rares. I'll go in the Discord and pick a lucky subscriber. Thank you all so much for the support. Let's keep the conversation going in the Discord. And now with that, let's get into the predictions. So for this time around with our Enchanted Rare predictions, I decided to break it down into specific categories, 3 to be specific. We'll go through each one by one, the first one being new IPs. And when we think about new IPs, we need look no further for Azurite C than Big Hero 6 coming into the hobby. And when we think about Big Hero 6 and what that could mean for Lorcana in terms of specific card art, we've already seen multiple different cards that have been spoiled, teased, out online, weeks before the November 15th LGS release, which as of today's recording, we're probably a few weeks out to that point. When we talk about specific cards that could ascend into that rare air of getting those alt art enchanteds, 2 specific ones come to mind. The first one being Baymax, Armored Companion, Sapphire, Legendary. To me, this just seems like low-hanging fruit. I mean, obviously, when we talk about introducing a massive franchise and bringing multiple cards from that franchise in, I really think that, to be honest with you, it would be, I'm gonna call it a shock to see 0 exposure on the enchanted side for Big Hero 6. And even though there's probably going to be more cards to be released on that IP side of things, that Legendary Baymax just feels like it hits all of the right notes. It could be a beautiful alt art card, and also it could be a very meta-relevant card. And if it did happen to be meta-relevant, and of course this is where I always preface that I'm swimming in the meta waters that I probably, do not know as much about as compared to the next person who's next to me. What I will say is, if it were to have meta-relevancy, it would to me strike a similar chord as say a Clarabelle or a Naveen from Shimmering Skies that we've kind of seen tango with both the collectability side as being a legendary and an enchanted, and also the meta side as being a legendary and enchanted, which those cards are kind of jockeying for that like silver and bronze spot behind the ultimate chase card of Mufasa and Shimmering Skies. But with Baymax, I do think it's the low-hanging fruit. I do believe it's the highest rarity of Big Hero that we've seen to this point. Again, this is at time of recording. It is, I believe, a few weeks out. We could also, of course, see new cards come into the fold. But I do think that's one that just kind of has to just be tossed out there and guessed. The second one, though, that I do want to call out that I also think is an interesting one that I also feel like would just be incredible if it could happen is We Could Be Immortals. This specific song card, to me, when I saw it, it kind of gives me feelings of another card that I predicted in our last Enchanted prediction video, being Kristoff. Now, Kristoff, I believe it was a rare variant that did not get the enchanted rare, and that's okay. As we always talk about, sometimes we hit, sometimes we miss. We've been right before, we've been wrong before, we'll be right again, we'll be wrong again. But what I do think is very interesting about the We Could Be Immortals is that being a song card and also having all of them on it with that fantastic regular rare artwork, I think it could be very special as an enchanted rare. But more so than that, the reason why I'm going to go with throwing this prediction out there is because very quietly, if we notice from Shimmering Skies, to my knowledge, we took a step back on the song enchanted side of things. I believe we only had one, and that would be, of course, the Maui, You're Welcome. I don't believe we had any other. And to me, I've always been very outspoken saying that I believe that song cards and song enchanteds are truly the secret sauce of this hobby going forward. When we think about the nostalgia and we think about what these characters and what these franchises mean to us, we think back to our childhood. When I think of Lion King, of course, I think of certain scenes from Lion King, certain characters from Lion King, but the first thing that always comes to my mind is, of course, Hakuna Matata. Same thing with Beauty and the Beast, Tale as Old as Time, right? Like the songs are really, really the lifeblood that sort of weaves everything together with the nostalgia, with the franchises, and ultimately with this hobby as a whole. So I think it could be a really interesting song. That doesn't mean that there won't be plenty of other songs to choose from, but I love that artwork. So we kind of have a Kristoff feel going on, and we also have a like, hey, I need to predict a song enchanted. So I'm gonna go with that one. Obviously with Shimmering Skies, we saw a lot more action cards come into the fold. That's awesome to see. We'll see if we get an item enchanted. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not thinking of an item enchanted right now. Someone let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But I mean, a lot of the song enchanteds kind of got pushed aside to bring in actions, and they were beautiful. Finders Keepers, Royal Tantrum, Revive, like absolutely gorgeous artworks. So I do think that, of course, it was great that we introduced more of those into the fold, but I look forward to seeing, hopefully, more song enchanteds as we get into set 6 with Azurite Sea. All right, so the next category I want to talk about is going to have to do with themed enchanted rares. Now let's talk about what those themed cards are and what we mean by a themed enchanted. So the two cards that I want to talk about that are going to be my predictions, they are also cards that have already been teased. We're going to talk about Jim Hawkins' Honorable Pirate and Peter Pan Neverland Prankster. So when we think about this specific theme for set 6 with Azurite Sea, what has been teased to us in the official Lorcana video has to do with a sort of pirate ocean sailing, across the seas type theme. And of course, both Jim and Peter very much fit that specific theme. Now, when we talk about Jim Hawkins, to me, I mean, and I do believe I've heard this on other content that's been floated around in the Lorcana circles with the higher ups on the marketing side, on the development side, all the way up to Ryan Miller. It really does seem like they have a special place in their heart for Treasure Planet, and I'm here for it. I love it. I know that when we talk about specific cards that might take specific movies and IPs that might take a specific backseat to the Lion Kings and the Aladdins and things like that, Treasure Planet was one that was really near and dear for me. We've seen it in at least 3 sets. Definitely first chapter with John Silver, definitely Into the Inklands with Jim Hawkins, and now they have reintroduced that hero, Jim Hawkins, into set 6 that will be Azurite Sea, similar to how we've seen multiple different Disney princesses be introduced, and even to the point where we've had multiple Disney princess enchanteds, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we talk about Peter Pan. But Jim, to me, feels like a really good time to give him that crescendo for that specific enchanted rare. They have been bringing that IP into the fold more and more with Treasure Planet, and I think it's just a perfect time, perfect theme. He's dressed up in that theme. It's really, it's kind of almost a sort of cross hybrid between a space pirate and an actual pirate. So I really think it could be an awesome time to give either that Amber Super variant the card and the shout out, or it could even honestly be a different Jim Hawkins. I doubt it, but like, I really do feel like this card has massive potential to see that enchanted rare as a hero that is truly loved within the Disney universe and the Lorcana universe. Shifting focus over to Peter Pan. This one's of course interesting because we've obviously already seen Peter Pan as an enchanted, the Ruby variant from Into the Inklands. And the thing with Peter Pan, and this could just be myself as a collector, someone in the comments let me know if you feel similarly, differently, it's totally fine, but I know for myself when I think about the Ruby version of Peter Pan, first and foremost, beautiful artwork. As usual, the artists are just absolutely nailing it with these enchanted variants, and quite frankly, even the legendary and the rare variants. Like, the artwork just seems to get better and better with each set, and the actual manufacturing of the cards, as we've seen with, like, for instance, the legendary variants of Shimmering Skies having the gloss on them, it just seems like Ravensburger, Disney, they're really upping their game with each new set that comes out, and I expect nothing different here with Azurite Sea. But looking and focusing in on Peter Pan, I know for myself, the Ruby variant very much threw me off. When I think about Peter Pan, I just feel like as a collector, there's really nothing that I want more than to be able to have sort of a matched identity with his overall kit. Peter Pan is green. I would love to see an emerald Peter Pan. The Neverland Prankster is an emerald variant. I just think it's worth at least calling out. It's worth a shout out. Again, more than likely, not all of the cards that we call out will get the enchanted call outs and the enchanted, level ups, but I do think that is interesting because I do think that Peter Pan, that Ruby one from Into the Inklands, I think that so much talk and so much notoriety was sort of shadowed around that card because of the overall error with it being the first ever confirmed error with Lorcana. Obviously you have Ursula, the Storyborn Dreamborn, which of course it is an error, but at the same time there are no Dreamborns printed, right? There's only Storyborns, etc. So like it's hard to call it a misprint when all of them are the same print that are out there in existence. But with the Peter Pan, there are ones that have the bracket in the text, and there are ones that don't have the bracket in the text. And as a collector, of course, we all know that that matters. It really does. Now, over time, it's hard to know kind of 60-40, 50-50, how many of each were printed. But I would really like to see sort of a double up on the Peter Pan side with an enchanted rare. Similar to what they did on the Disney Princess side when we think about Cinderella, we think about Ballroom Sensation, we think about Melody Weaver. This wouldn't be the first time that they've doubled up on enchanteds, and it's probably not going to be the last time that we see it either. No different than within the Pokemon universe, how we have multiple different chase alt arts of Charizard and Lugia and Pikachu, etc. I mean, this is something that's probably going to be a parallel theme in the Lorcana universe with both heroes and princesses and even villains. So I do think that we have a chance to see that in set 6, and I think there's a chance for it to be Peter Pan. One call out, and it's sort of an honorable mention, I'm going to call out saying that I don't think it's that it's not my official prediction, but just be on the lookout for it, is the Stitch Alien Buccaneer. I don't think they're going to do it, and the reason I don't think they're going to do it is simply because they're already giving him so much shine, that specific card in general, because to the best of my knowledge, it's going to be both a rare in the actual retail set, and it's also going to be a promo in the gift set slot that's sort of all surfaced around Stitch for this specific set 6. So I don't know that they're going to keep it going with that. I'll tell you what, if they do, this set would be very Stitch heavy. I'd be here for it. Stitch is one of the most beloved characters in the Disney universe, but I wanted to at least call it out because they really are giving him a lot of prominence with the gift, giving him basically a whole set slot within the gift set. So I do think it's worth calling out, but once again, I'm gonna go with both Jim Hawkins and Peter Pan in the themed category. All right, final category to talk about, and for this category, it is going to be current events. And if you have followed me to this point on the channel, if you have followed me for a while on the channel, you know which card I'm going to call out, and I've been calling it out for months now, and I'm not going to stop now. I'm going to ride it all the way to the official prediction video, and that is going to be Moana will get an enchanted rare, and not only will she get an enchanted rare, but I believe that she will be the big chase of Azurite Sea. Again, it kind of everything going for it that we've discussed to this point. It is a very one-for-one theme when we talk about sailing, voyaging, you know, islands, the ocean, like very similar theme when we think of Moana and Azurite Sea. And of course, as we know, we have the release of Moana 2, which I believe is set to release in theaters either the 27th or the 29th. I'm in my mind right now, I'm getting my odd numbers confused, but regardless, it's going to be right on the heels of the retail release of Azurite Sea. It just seems like perfect timing. It'll also be a very interesting barometer to see if Lorcana really and Ravensburger really do want to time up certain Disney events with their sets. I think it makes a ton of sense, and I also think it's something that is also a very interesting advantage that they could take advantage of. When you think about Pokemon, there's only so many, right? Like Pokemon movies, like what, Detective Pikachu, things like that. Of course, Pokemon, you know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest IP in the entire world. So it's not as though they need any extra help. But I do think an interesting area and an interesting focal point that Disney can take advantage of with their specific Lorcana hobby is there are always going to be more Disney movies coming out, right? Sequels to movies, more Pixar movies, which of course we'll see, you know, a year from now, etc. I do think this will be an interesting opportunity to see if they're focused on it. And if not, that's okay. I do think over time they're going to get their rhythm because at some point it just makes sense to do it. But I hope that it happens here because it would be awesome if they were focused on it for set 6, which is in the grand scheme of things so early on in the hobby. So I'm going to predict Moana as a consolation prediction. One of my subscribers let me know in the comments section. Shout out you know who you are. Consolation prediction. I'll say hey hey. The reason I'll say hey hey is because to the best of my knowledge, he is the only Disney character that has gotten a print in every single set to this point. It could be an Easter egg. It could be leading us up to Moana 2. It's very possible he gets an enchanted rare. I'd be here for it. I would love that. I just thought it was something interesting to throw in. So the overall prediction is going to be Moana. Consolation will be hey hey. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed today's content, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to get in the giveaway for the Madrigal playmat. Go join the Discord, links in the description. Let's keep the conversation going in there. Can't wait to interact with you all in there. I will see you in there. And until that next time, I will see you all on the other side. Peace out.